I love dogs. That's that's all there is to it. I just love dogs. You know, anyone that's had an opportunity to sit and just observe dog. I'm not talking about the house dog. I'm talking about a dog that lives on a half an acre or more. Um, a couple of dogs. If you've had an opportunity to really just sit and observe dogs just being dogs, not interacting with humans, but interacting with nature and the world and each other. If you had that opportunity, if it's fascinating. And I guess if you're not fascinated by that interaction or trying to get to understand what makes dogs tick, you're probably not going to get me. I love dogs. My name is Jay Trainer. I'm the founder of Alpha and Omega Dog Training, which I started in August of 2015. What got me on this path? Well, it started like this. I moved out of the house when I was 18 years old and got my first dog. We weren't allowed to have dogs when I was growing up because my father didn't think that we would be responsible enough to provide for the needs of another living, breathing, thinking creature. He was probably right. But at 18, I moved out, got my first dog. I had done a lot of research. I wanted an American Bulldog. And so, I did a lot of research. I found a breeder about 3 hours away that had, the look that I was looking for in this breed. So I made the trip, went and got the dog and did probably what most other new dog owners do. I put the dog on my lap and treated it like a puppy and, catered to it. And then about, 6 months down the line, that dog was giving me hell. It tore up everything I had. It was jumping and barking and nipping and biting and pulling, and it was just creating chaos and havoc. And so I did some more research and found a reputable trainer in my area and went and got the dog trained. And I've been training dogs ever since. Personally, I believe in the humane treatment of all animals, regardless of species. With us, Alpha and Omega, when it comes to training the dog is not the challenge. It's really training the human how to communicate with another species in a way that the dog inherently understands. And that's what the training is. That's what we focus on. That's what we specialize in. If we can teach you how to communicate to your dog in a way that your dog understands, you're not going to have any issues or problems out of your dogs. It's our fundamental belief that dogs cannot learn if they're being punished. They just can't make the connection between our punishment and whatever the behavior is we're trying to achieve. The only thing they learn through punishment is fear and avoidance, and you don't want a dog working with you from that psychological frame of mind. You want to build trust and establish a rapport and understanding between what your expectations are and what your dog's understanding is, and that's how you build a meaningful relationship between you and your dogs. The difference between command training and obedience training is the dog performing the commands regardless of the distractions. Command training, I'm telling you, it's worthless. Who cares what you've taught your dog to do in the confines of your home? Doesn't matter. The question becomes, will your dog perform those same commands when you're out in the real world and there's distractions occurring? That's the difference. That's obedience. And we need obedience out of our dogs. There's some basic functioning commands that any dog that's going to live in the human family needs to follow. Heel, sit, down, stay, come, drop it or leave it, go to your spot or place, off, and quiet. That's it. Those are the functioning commands. That's for the health and well-being of our dogs. They're commands. They're not requests. Period. When you tell your dog to do something, regardless of the distraction, your dog needs to do it. In addition to the functioning commands, there's some specific qualities that all dogs need to exhibit. They need to exhibit self-restraint, impulse control, respect for boundaries, respect and understanding for the leadership position. If you can get those two things married together, you're going to have an obedient dog. We have to understand that dogs are pack animals. They live and move in groups of packs. You're the pack. In the pack structure, it's the leader's job to make the decisions for the pack, right? So who can come, who can go, what's a threat, what's not a threat, what direction we're going to travel, who we're going to play with, when it's playtime. The leader makes all of those decisions. And so 99.9% of the time, the challenge that we see when people are calling for dog training is that their dog has found itself in the leadership position. And that manifests itself in a whole bunch of behavioral issues that present themselves. But it all comes down to a leadership challenge. Humans, we are nurturing and catering by our very basic nature and the way we communicate. It's in our genes. We can't help it. It's what makes us human. Dogs are dominant in the way they communicate. They can't help it. That manifests itself in all the behavior you see, the jumping, the pulling, the barking, the demand behavior. That's dominance. And so when you get the two personalities paired together, the dominant personality tends to override the nurturing, catering personality. That's how your dog finds itself in a leadership position. Put a leash on your dog, and now you start laying the foundation for having on-leash influence first. The dog has no understanding of how to behave or what his boundaries are, right? And so that leash is the medium that allows you to start communicating with your dog and laying a foundation. Because if the dog doesn't understand what you're asking it to do, how do you reasonably expect it to do anything that you're asking it to do? So it starts there. Whatever your issues, behavioral issues that you're having with your dog, obedience issues, you have to frame it from a leadership standpoint. It's a leadership challenge. As the leader, you should never be fighting for your dog's attention. Period. It's not your responsibility to make sure the dog's paying attention to you. It's theirs. They need to keep one eye and one ear on you at all times, period. I don't care what the distraction is. You're the leader. Do not fight for your dog's attention. You can't. So we need two things out of our dogs. First, we need them to be paying attention. If they're not paying attention, you can't teach them nothing. Second, they have to respect your leadership position. Because if they don't respect you as a leader, from their perspective, you're not the boss of me. I'm not about to do nothing you're telling me to do. So, in that comes dogs cannot learn if they're being punished. Period. The only thing they learn from punishment is fear and avoidance. So we have to, and it's real challenging for us as humans, but what we got to do is allow our dogs the freedom to make a mistake so we can get a proper and effective correction to get the learning process started. The same way he learned when he was, 2 to 8 weeks of age with his litter mates and his mom taught him. At 8 weeks of age, we don't take puppies from their litter until they're 8 weeks of age. But at 8 weeks of age, they've learned everything they need to learn in order to acclimate themselves into the human world. We domesticated these animals, right? And so there's things that they're going to learn from their mother and their litter mates from birth to 8 weeks of age that we as humans just can't teach them. We're not dogs. But at 8 weeks of age, they're ready to learn everything we need them to know. Here's what happens. Because we're nurturing and catering, just like I did with my first pup, we have this cute little fluff ball that fits in the palm of our hand, and we start picking it up. We start talking to her and coddling it and holding whole long dissertations about how great of a life that we're going to have together. And the balance gets thrown out of whack, and the dog ends up being in the leadership position. And by the time the dog is 6 to 9 months old, maybe a year, now we start seeing behavioral issues and we're scratching our head like, I don't know what happened, what went wrong. This dog is nuts, right? And so we have to put the balance in there and start communicating through our influence, the leash and the collar, and teaching the dog to go back to showing self-restraint, impulse control, understanding and respect for the boundaries that you set, and respect for your leadership position. But you are in fact a leader. That's not going to be open for debate or discussion. But we do not want to be the dictator. We want to establish what our rules and our boundaries are and be clear in a way that the dog inherently understands. That's going to happen on leash first, and then you'll transition into your off leash. But don't be punishing your dog.